An older AI model officially outperforms Harvard doctors in the emergency room. Amazon declares open war on FedEx and UPS, and GameStop attempts a $55 billion hostile takeover of eBay. Welcome to the DJAMGAMIND Daily Rundown. I am your host, Etienne Newman, Senior Software Engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the evaporation of the interface, this Monday, May 4th, 2026. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in how intelligence operates in the real world. A new study out of Harvard proved that OpenAI's legacy O1 model can diagnose complex emergency room cases more accurately than attending physicians, relying purely on raw, unstructured medical notes. At the same time, the era of traditional software is fading. We are entering Software 3.0, where neural networks are replacing dashboards and user interfaces entirely, dynamically rendering ad hoc financial models, like analyzing GameStop's highly leveraged $55 billion bid for eBay. And in the physical world, the logistics map is being redrawn. Amazon is officially opening its massive fulfillment network to third-party businesses, aiming to do to the global shipping industry exactly what AWS did to cloud computing. Before we dive into the data, a quick reminder: subscribe to DJAMGAMIND on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. Today's episode is brought to you by DJAMGAMIND and our partners at Area. When AI models are diagnosing patients and rendering software obsolete, your enterprise needs flawless technical intelligence. DJAMGAMIND delivers the human-verified audio forensics the C-suite relies on to map out true ROI. Visit DJAMGAMIND.com. And a special thank you to Area for co-sponsoring today's forensic briefing. Let's unravel the day. Before we begin today's briefing, a note for the brands listening. If you want to reach the true architects of the AI revolution, the technical leaders actually building the stack, not just the tourists, DJAMGAMIND offers select premium partnership opportunities. Let us position your product directly in front of the ultimate technical buyer. Visit jamgamind.com/partners.
Imagine a $12 billion video game retailer launching a hostile $55 billion takeover of an e-commerce giant.
Right, and using physical mall stores as a weapon.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And while that's happening, you have an AI model outperforming an attending ER doctor at diagnosing a flesh-eating disease using nothing but, messy, scrambled medical notes.
I mean, they sound like completely random, isolated events, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But if you look closely at the briefing we're unpacking for you today, this is for May 4th, 2026. By the way, they were actually symptoms of the exact same tectonic shift. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, glad to be here to break this down.
We are performing a forensic autopsy on the news today, and our mission is to track a massive overarching theme, basically the evaporation of the interface. We're watching the world transition from Software 2.0.
Which is, your standard era of clicking through rigid dashboards and walled-off apps.
Right. Moving from that into Software 3.0, a reality where neural computers just kind of dynamically orchestrate the world around us.
The scale of this transition is staggering. I mean, we are moving far past chatbots writing marketing emails here. We are looking at a fundamental rewrite of how capital, logistics, and data actually flow.
Because the interface is gone.
Exactly. When the digital interface between a human and a task disappears, the companies that control the underlying infrastructure, well, they hold all the leverage. That is why you are seeing Amazon and GameStop making these aggressive multi-billion-dollar plays to lock down physical reality.
While at the exact same time, Silicon Valley's elite are dragging each other into federal court to fight over who owns the digital base layer.
Yeah, it is a total restructuring of enterprise power.
And it's all happening simultaneously. So let's start right at the front lines of, human vulnerability. Because that's where the failure of our current software is most obvious, right? The emergency room.
Oh, the Harvard study. Yeah, this is a perfect example.
Right, so we have this new Harvard study published in the journal Science. They
Yeah.
put OpenAI's O1 preview model, which, just to give you some perspective, was released way back in 2024.
Feels like ancient history now.
Right. But they put it up against 2 attending physicians across 76 real high-stakes ER cases, and the AI hit a 67.1% accuracy rate at initial triage.
While the human doctors hit, what, 55.3% and 50%?
Exactly, 55.3 and a flat 50. But the critical detail here isn't just the score. It's that the AI pulled this off using raw, unstructured health record text.
And what's fascinating here is that word, unstructured. That is the entire thesis of Software 3.0. I mean, for the last 20 years, medical software has essentially treated highly trained doctors like data entry clerks.
Just clicking drop-downs.
Right, because Software 2.0 operates like a rigid filing cabinet. If the data isn't typed perfectly into the correct menu, the system breaks down. Or it fails to flag a risk.
But human illness doesn't fit into a drop-down menu.
Exactly. The ER is chaotic. Patients omit details, symptoms overlap, notes are taken in a rush. By thriving on unstructured data, the AI proved it doesn't need that rigid, structured interface to operate flawlessly.
To really put that into perspective for you listening, the study highlighted a case that it stopped me in my tracks.
For a transplant patient.
Yeah. The AI flagged a rare flesh-eating infection in a transplant patient 12 to 24 hours before the actual treating doctor caught it.
Wow.
Right? Traditional medical software couldn't do that because it can't connect the dots across all those disjointed notes. It's like having a brilliant colleague who can glance at a doctor's messy chicken scratch and instantly spot the invisible, terrifying pattern.
It operates more like a detective's evidence board, you know? Drawing red strings between a patient's random symptoms, lab delays, medical history. And when 2 separate reviewing doctors were tasked with scoring these 76 cases, they literally could not distinguish which diagnoses came from the human experts and which came from the machine.
It completely abstracts away the cognitive burden of navigating the software.
Exactly. The raw text of reality goes in, the deep pattern recognition happens across billions of parameters, and the life-saving insight comes out. No dashboard required.
I hear you on the software evaporating, but I have to push back a bit here, based on the researchers' own warnings in the study.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
A text prompt isn't reality. The researchers explicitly noted the model is entirely blind to physical and visual cues. If a patient in the waiting room is sweating profusely or grimacing when they breathe or, their skin looks a specific shade of pale,
the AI knows absolutely nothing about it.
Right. Not unless a human manually types it into the record. So we still need extensive prospective clinical trials covering safety, equity, and cost-effectiveness before this can just take over the ER workflow, right?
Right. That is the ultimate friction point. The machine is analyzing the text representation of reality, not the physical reality itself. But the macro takeaway for anyone tracking enterprise systems is that the intermediary layer, the need for a human to interpret the messy data and translate it into a structured database that's disappearing.
The model absorbs the complexity of the translation.
Precisely. Which perfectly illustrates the broader concept that tech analysts like John Coogan and Andrej Karpathy are calling Software 3.0 or the neural computer.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for you listening, think about how you use your phone or computer right now. You have an operating system, and on top of that, dozens of little siloed applications.
You have one app for your bank, one for translating languages, one for ordering food.
And each of those required a team of engineers writing thousands of lines of code just to build a user interface.
Right. Under the old paradigm, if you wanted to solve a problem, you had to build a rigid tool. Karpathy highlighted this with a project called Menugen. Let's say you're at a restaurant in a foreign country, the menu is in a language you don't read, and there are no pictures.
A classic problem.
Yeah. So in the Software 2.0 era, a developer would build a web app hosted on a cloud platform like Vercel. They would stitch together an optical character recognition API to read the text, a translation API to convert it, and a separate image generator API to create a picture of the food.
All wrapped in a custom user interface.
Exactly. It's classic vibe coding, where a human basically acts like a project manager, duct taping together different APIs and cloud hosting platforms to force a result. It's incredibly clunky.
But Karpathy's breakdown of the Software 3.0 version of this exact task is just mind-bending. You don't build an app. You just take a photo of the menu, hand it to a multimodal model like Gemini, and use a specialized execution tool like Nano Banana.
And that's it. The neural network understands the image, translates the text, generates the food imagery, and dynamically overlays it directly onto the pixels of your original photo.
The application layer in the middle is completely eradicated. You didn't need to download an app, create an account, and navigate a menu.
The neural network dynamically instantiated a bespoke solution for your specific problem in that exact second and then dissolved it when you were done.
So the model is the app.
Precisely. If we pull back and look at the business strategy here, it perfectly mirrors a famous 2016 investment thesis from Union Square Ventures called FAT protocols.
Oh, the crypto thesis.
Yeah. Back in the early days of the web, foundational protocols like HTTP or email were thin. They were open and didn't capture much financial value. The massive trillions in value were captured on top by the fat applications built over them like Google or Facebook.
But in the AI era, the dynamic is inverted.
Totally. These foundation models are getting incredibly fat. They are doing all the heavy cognitive lifting, which is actively starving the traditional application layer built on top of them.
I see the logic, I really do. But there is a massive structural wall in the way of this pure neural computer vision.
You're thinking of the walled gardens.
Exactly. The internet isn't an open frontier anymore. If I have critical proprietary information locked inside Apple's iMessage ecosystem, or, a company has their supply chain locked in a proprietary corporate database, how does a FAT model navigate that lockdown environment without traditional code or official API access?
That is exactly where the corporate warfare is happening right now. Navigating walled gardens often still requires messy workarounds, like AI agents puppeteering a web browser or digging through local file directories.
Which is super brittle.
It is. But as Coogan points out, the models are already smart enough to find their way over, under, or through the cracks in those walls if the user directs them to. The technical capability is largely solved. The lag is entirely in corporate permissions and digital rights management.
But there's a much harder wall that pure AI can't just think its way through. Physical reality.
Atoms, not bits.
Right. A neural network can translate a menu dynamically or diagnose a patient from text, but it cannot put a package on your porch. And that limitation is exactly why we are seeing these bizarre, multi-billion-dollar moves in the physical layer today. Let's look at the GameStop news from the briefing, because this is wild.
The eBay bid, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, GameStop CEO Ryan Cohen is making an unsolicited $55.5 billion bid to buy eBay.
The financial mechanics of this are absurd. You have GameStop, a company with a $12 billion market cap, trying to launch a leveraged takeover of a $46 billion e-commerce giant at a 20% premium.
Cohen is securing $20 billion in debt financing from TD Bank just to make the math work.
To swallow a company almost 4 times its size.
Right. Like you said, it's because of atoms. The strategy relies on cutting $2 billion in yearly costs at eBay. But the real play is using GameStop's 1,600 retail mall stores as a physical, decentralized fulfillment infrastructure to take on Amazon.
It is a massive bet that whoever controls the local physical footprint wins the next era of commerce.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. What fascinates me isn't just the deal itself, it's how analysts are processing it. John Coogan analyzed this exact $55 billion M&A deal, and he didn't do the old way.
Right, because historically, evaluating a reverse merger of this scale requires an analyst to open a Bloomberg terminal, pull down SEC filings, paste numbers into a massive Excel model, and meticulously align the valuation multiples and revenue growth rates.
It is highly structured, rigid work.
Very Software 2.0.
But Coogan didn't open a single spreadsheet. He used ChatGPT 5.5 thinking with images. He literally just gave it a conversational prompt, asking it to research both companies' financial metrics, top-line revenue and earnings, and build a side-by-side visual comparison.
And instantly, the model bypassed the need for a financial dashboard and generated a custom, beautifully designed visual analysis on the fly.
He did note a minor UI quirk, though.
Oh, yeah. The AI used the color red to display GameStop's positive financial numbers, which is a massive faux pas in finance.
Red means you're losing money.
Exactly. But the fix isn't opening the code. It's just typing one sentence to tell the model to swap the color palette. The broader implication for the enterprise is chilling for traditional SaaS companies.
Pre-built, subscription-based dashboards are dying.
Completely. You no longer need to pay a vendor to visualize your data when a model can generate an ad hoc, on-demand analysis for the exact strategic question you have in that exact moment.
When models are replacing traditional software interfaces and taking over critical business workflows, deploying AI effectively at the enterprise level requires more than just an API key. It requires management infrastructure. We want to thank our sponsor, ARA, for making today's briefing possible. ARA provides the enterprise-grade AI management platform that organizations need to turn raw compute into measurable, secure workflow automation. You can find their link in the show notes.
And that transition from digital to physical automation brings us directly to Amazon's countermove today.
Oh, the supply chain announcement.
Right. While GameStop tries to cobble together a physical fulfillment network out of old mall stores, Amazon just announced Amazon Supply Chain Services. They are fully externalizing their massive internal freight network and selling it as a service to outside businesses across retail, healthcare, and manufacturing.
The scale of the infrastructure they are opening up is terrifying for competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, they are deploying a fleet of over 100 cargo planes, 80,000 trailers, and 24,000 intermodal containers.
They are explicitly going to war with UPS and FedEx over high-margin B2B freight.
If you track Amazon's strategic history, this is the exact same playbook they ran in 2006 with global computing, isn't it?
Spot on. Amazon originally built AWS simply to handle their own internal server load for the e-commerce store. Once they perfected the internal system, they realized the infrastructure itself was the product.
They rented it out, and it became the dominant cloud provider on Earth.
Right. And they have now spent the last decade perfecting the physical logistics of delivering our packages. By turning that internal cost center into an external revenue generator, they are trying to become the AWS of physical atoms.
And while Amazon tries to own the movement of physical goods, Wall Street is aggressively moving to own the movement of corporate data.
Oh, the private equity moves.
Yes, we are seeing private equity firms completely bypass traditional software procurement. Anthropic is nearing a $1.5 billion joint venture with heavyweights like Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, Hellman & Friedman, and General Atlantic.
And this comes right on the heels of OpenAI launching a $4 billion deployco with 5 other major PE firms.
You have to understand how private equity operates to see why this matters. Their entire model is based on acquiring a company, aggressively streamlining its operations to improve the margins, and selling it at a multiple.
Right, and these deploycos are specialized vehicles designed to inject foundation models directly into the operations of the portfolio companies owned by these PE firms.
They aren't waiting for the IT department to buy a SaaS license.
Not at all. They are fundamentally replacing expensive human labor with high compute AI labor across thousands of acquired companies at once.
But let me ask you about the ceiling on this, because you see enterprise giants like SAP joining this arms race too. Our sources note SAP just announced a €1 billion investment to buy Prior Labs, specifically to build tabular foundation models, or TFMs, for structured business data.
Yeah, that's a huge move.
So are all these PE firms and enterprise giants just looking for the ultimate corporate cost-cutting tool, or are they actually trying to build entirely new capabilities that humans just couldn't achieve?
In the immediate term, the gravity of Wall Street always pulls toward cost efficiency. That's a given. But the SAP acquisition of Prior Labs reveals the long game. A tabular foundation model isn't a language model trying to read an Excel sheet.
It's natively built for data.
Exactly. It is an AI natively architected to process and orchestrate massive structured relational databases. SAP understands that if Software 3.0 evaporates the interface, the company that provides the underlying neural system for corporate data, well, they control the enterprise. They are building an AI that understands the business better than the CEO does.
So the software interface is evaporating, the physical logistics layer is being weaponized, and billions of dollars are flowing into restructuring corporate workforces.
A lot to take in.
It really is.
Yeah.
And naturally, a shift this profound means the fight over who controls these foundation models has breached the highest levels of geopolitical power. The drama unfolding in the federal government right now is intense.
It's unavoidable. When models begin orchestrating critical infrastructure, the Department of Defense demands a seat at the table.
Right. So the Pentagon just approved 8 AI companies to be added to its classified networks. We're talking about major players: SpaceX, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, AWS, Oracle, and conspicuously, a company called Reflection.
The inclusion of Reflection is a vital detail from our briefing today. Reflection recently raised $2 billion from 1789 Capital.
Which is an investment fund backed by Donald Trump Jr.
Exactly. And at the exact same time, Anthropic, which is arguably one of the most capable model builders on Earth, was explicitly excluded from this Pentagon list.
The DoD cited a supply chain risk label. But what makes this deeply contradictory is that the new defense contracts mandate the exact same limits on autonomous weapons and surveillance that Anthropic originally protested against.
Right, and yet despite the Pentagon ban, the White House recently stated they still want priority access to Anthropic's upcoming Mythos model for their own compute needs.
And just to be completely clear as we map this out for you listening, because we are looking at massive pools of political capital, funds backed by figures like Trump Jr., and direct contradictions between the Pentagon and the White House. Our goal here isn't to take a political side or endorse any viewpoint.
No, absolutely not.
We are purely tracking how these foundation models are colliding with defense contracts and human geopolitics, based strictly on the facts in our sources.
And it is crucial to look at this strictly through the lens of systems and power. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we spend so much time discussing the pure logic and elegance of Software 3.0.
Right, these frictionless neural computers that diagnose diseases and visualize M&A data seamlessly.
But the reality is that the deployment of this technology is hopelessly bogged down in messy human geopolitics, defense spending, and bruised egos.
Which perfectly segues into the most bruised ego of all. We have to talk about the federal courtroom brawl between Elon Musk and OpenAI, because text messages just surfaced in the trial that pull the curtain back on the reality of this industry.
Oh man, the defense in this trial is moving aggressively. OpenAI's lawyers are asking a federal judge to allow Greg Brockman to testify regarding a specific text message Musk sent him on April 25th.
According to the filing, Musk floated a settlement to his own lawsuit against them, but coupled it with a warning.
A pretty intense warning.
Yeah. He told Brockman and Sam Altman that if they didn't take the settlement, they would become the most hated men in America.
That is a staggering threat to put in writing. And the defense's strategy here is clear. They are arguing that this text proves Musk's lawsuit has absolutely nothing to do with his stated concern over OpenAI abandoning its nonprofit mission.
They claim it proves he is weaponizing the federal court system to intentionally kneecap a competitor now that he is trying to scale his own foundation model company, XAI.
Exactly. And because a judge, not a jury, will decide liability in this case, the stakes are existential. The potential remedies here aren't just fines.
The court could theoretically order the removal of Altman and Brockman from leadership?
Or even force the unwinding of OpenAI's massive for-profit corporate structure. It shows that while the technology is ascending, the people building it are fighting in the mud.
It is a profound contradiction. We are building these pristine, hyper-intelligent neural networks capable of outperforming human ER doctors at the most critical moments of our lives. Yet the architects of these systems are texting each other threats about becoming the most hated men in America.
It proves that no matter how sophisticated the software becomes or how completely the digital interface evaporates, the human interface, our greed, our biases, our hunger for control, remains the ultimate bottleneck.
The pure logic of the machine is violently colliding with the messy reality of human power.
Beautifully put.
To quickly recap the ground we've covered for you today, we started by looking at how AI has crossed a massive threshold, beating attending ER doctors at triage by finding the hidden patterns in messy, unstructured medical notes.
We explored the evaporation of the traditional app, moving into a Software 3.0 reality where neural computers dynamically generate solutions on the fly, rendering dashboards obsolete.
We watched Ryan Cohen leverage $20 billion in debt to try and swallow eBay, turning physical mall stores into fulfillment centers to fight Amazon, just as Amazon pivots to turn its internal logistics into a global service.
And finally, we tracked how the absolute control over these models is sparking massive geopolitical contradictions at the Pentagon and existential courtroom brawls in Silicon Valley.
The layer that historically separated us from the machine is gone. These models are no longer passive tools waiting for us to click a button. They are active orchestrators of our physical logistics and digital intelligence.
We are stepping into a totally new paradigm.
Which leaves us with a lingering question for you to ponder as you go about your day. We started this deep dive talking about that comforting control panel, the structured X-ray, the predictable app, the dashboard you can click into. It felt safe because we were the ones driving.
Right.
But if Software 3.0 completely evaporates that interface and AI flawlessly orchestrates everything from our life or death medical triage to multi-billion-dollar corporate mergers, what happens to human intuition? When the machine is perfectly managing both our digital and physical realities, do we stop being the users of the technology and simply become just another data point being managed by it? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.